Hello, folks. I'm reading a message here from YouTube. Managing moderators can support your channel in even more ways. Introducing managing moderators. These users have the same capabilities as standard moderators, but in addition, they can manage blocked words and change chat modes in live. We'll have to learn about that someday. All right, folks, how you doing out there? It is a Wednesday, 7 p.m. There's Annalie, there's Nydia. Hello, hello. Just popping on again as this is probably my craziest point of the year is right now that we're in. This is busier than Fiesta, um, busier than Labor Day weekend when there's things going on then. Yeah, this is nuts. It's all that. It's a hot spot basically from Veterans Day through say the first 10 days of December where everything gets packed in. You start doing holiday promotional stuff uh, because it's sort of the last time where mo most shopkeepers and small business owners can catch their breath before their big push towards the end of the year. So I've been doing a ton of videos. Tomorrow's like a ridiculous day for me. I'll get into that in a bit, but of course you've got all the food drives, the clothing drives, donation drives, Thanksgiving volunteer stuff. That's all happening right now. School fairs. Then the sip and shops are going to come. Of course, there's Thanksgiving, the holiday, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. All that stuff is coming to a head right now. So, yeah, it's pretty bananas right now. On top of all this, I actually have timeline event at the Sawyer Free Library tomorrow night on the history of Sawyer Free Library. I did that documentary a little while back. So that's going to be tomorrow evening. After I think I have three video shoots during the day. One at it's called Grand Banks Building Products. Um, it's a nice place for like home remodeling and construction and all that stuff. They have a beautiful spot on the water here in Gloucester, and they have events every now and then too, fundraisers. So going out to shoot something there. Then I'm at Hammond Castle tomorrow for a while, shooting something there because they have a bunch of holiday promotional stuff going on. In fact, one of the people who reached out to me today is Chelsea Berry. Chelsea is probably like the biggest musician from this area out there right now. She's from Alaska, but she's lived here forever. And I'm good friends with her. And actually, on this channel, a few years, I think during COVID, I actually did an interview with her when she had an album release. We went through like track for track. We actually played them on this channel somewhere if you look up Chelsea Berry. Now, make sure that's the one that I know. Like you'll find our videos somewhere because I think there's another Chelsea Berry down in Nashville who's much younger and I think a country singer, whatever. And they have issues with their names, a lot of confusion there too. But anyway, so she reached out this morning to try to do something because she actually plays a couple holiday shows at Hammond Castle in December every year. And I don't think she needs promotion for it because those always bang out because it's an awesome place to see a show. So we'll figure out what we can do for her tomorrow as I do this other promotional thing for Hammond Castle. So anyway, that happens. Of course, I'm back at the Azorian because I'm there every Thursday, and I go straight from there to Sawyer Free to do that timeline event, which is nice. So anyway, there's that, and then I'm gonna have to do editing videos on Friday. I'll see Patricia on Friday. I know next Friday we have. I don't know if I'm on Wednesday night because that's like the big party night of the year, and I don't know if I have to be out for anything. But next Friday night, I'm gonna be live with Pauline on Facebook. There is for the Horribles Parade. They have a big fundraiser right after Thanksgiving every year where they have all these community groups and people decorate Christmas trees. Um, and they're sort of styled after your business or your endeavor. Like the Girl Scouts will have something all, there could be Girl Scout cookies all over it or gift certificates or whatever. And really creative people and artists do Christmas trees. And while they're putting them all together on a Friday night in this church basement, Pauline and I go live. And we walk through and talk about the trees and the fundraiser and all that. We've been doing that for a while now, for a few years. So That is happening next Friday. That's a fun one to do. And then like the whole weekend they have, take pictures with the Grinch. Mrs. Claus is there. There's music there. There's all kinds of stuff going on too. And I think they raffle off the trees to winners as well. So anyway, hey SG, hey old guy, good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my little quick weekly update here. So that's kind of latest with the shoots that's going on. I had a ton with the local food pantry. I actually think those are public on this channel, but only because I wanted multiple people at the food pantry to see it. It was the easiest way for them to see it because they were underwater with preparations for food distribution and putting holiday baskets together for delivery and organizing volunteers and whatnot. So, hey Steve, how you doing tonight? So a couple of those are up there. What's funny is I do a lot of videos for the food pantry. They actually would like to do something with me in the studio at some point down the line. We just don't know what that is yet. Um, so we'll figure that out. But I went over there and it's a big facility and they have a big kitchen preparing all these meals. And they also have like their own little grocery store where people go and pick up stuff and a lot of volunteers, et cetera, et cetera. They're always filling up trucks to make shipments. They serve 11 communities out here. And so we have to do the video in their kitchen because we're talking to their chef about preparing meals. And then he's also has plated a few dishes with like leftover Thanksgiving stuff. And he shows people how to make these simple dishes just so you just don't have turkey sandwich after turkey sandwich the day after Thanksgiving. The problem is that all the refrigeration and the fan and the kitchen fans are on in there, so the audio is really tough the whole time. But it's the only place that we can really do the videos because there's all this action going on around us, and you have to be really sensitive to people who are shopping there or looking, getting counseling there. Or even when they put together baskets or packages for people, they're labeled, and so we have to be real careful of where we are there to when we're doing content like that. So we kind of stayed in the back in the kitchen to do those videos. They look good, but the audio is tough for that one. But anyway, I'm back there again Monday because there's a local company that's donating. I don't even know how many pounds of turkey to the open door for their giveaways for Thanksgiving. But I've been doing that for a bunch of years too, so I'm back there live on Monday as well. I have a staff lunch for 1623 next Tuesday too. That's usually figuring out how we're going to deal with the holidays. So anyway, and while all this is going on, I'm trying to sneak in another timeline before Christmas, although I don't think that's going to happen. But no fault of mine. I'm trying to, when we had our middle school built back in the early 70s, um, they also built a rink right next door to it, a hockey rink for public use and obviously for the schools to use, et cetera, et cetera. It was a big story then. And the day after the rink opened, there was a Cape Ann skating club that formed. So I wanted to do a story on the skating club and just kind of talk about when the rink in the school was built and why building ice rinks became popular at that particular point in time. There's some cool story behind that. So I'm working on all this other part of the story, but the story of like how the school was constructed, how the rink was constructed, how the skating club was formed and all that. I've done my own research, but I need images and I need more help from people that were part of those endeavors. And I actually tried this last year before Thanksgiving, and it kind of faded. And I've heard from the same people this year who are going to work on it. But the problem is this time of year, November, December, January, is their busiest time of year, doing classes and whatnot and teaching little kids to skate. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, I'm scripting stuff in the meantime in case that does happen sooner than later, because of course I'm gone. I'm in Ireland the first week of December. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. So, first things first, my big day is tomorrow. Like I said, a couple of shoots, Hammond Castle is one of them, speaking event tomorrow night. And then I'm okay. Like I have time to screw my head on straight. The videos aren't extensive to edit. It's not bad. There's just a bunch of them. So I can knock those out and get my way through next week somehow, and then it's pretty much easy street for me for the rest of the year. As far as studio stuff goes, because the way our Thursdays fall into place, we did a show with Anita Collar. We had a dog last Thursday in here. who was fun. And that video is up there still running, and she's still looking for a home, I believe. And so was the last dog, the dog we did before her, Aisha, who I think wasn't a foster, now is out. So, and Aisha's been around for a little bit now, which we can't believe because she was awesome. So anyway, I still have those two videos up there, and I'm pumping those through the newsletter as well. But the animal shelter's been like killing it lately. They've had a lot of adoptions and a lot of turnover, which has been really good. So not sweating that. But just the way these Thursdays fall, because we do these shows every other Thursday. Of course, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. I'm in Ireland the following Thursday after that. So we believe December 11th is going to be the next show. But there is a chance we might actually do one before the 11th because we're going to miss Giving Tuesday, which is December 2nd, I believe. Um, and so we might want to try to figure something out for then. Anyway, there's just a lot up in the air right now, but that's probably what's going to happen is a December 11th show. Then, of course, 2 weeks after that is Christmas. So that might be the last podcast of the year. However, once we get next weekend out of the way, we're on the other side of Thanksgiving, we'll see if my tech guys can get back in here and start working on some interview shows because I can tell you one thing that would have been really cool is I believe we could probably have Chelsea Berry, the musician, here for an interview, and she would actually play songs for us, and uh, she's awesome. So anyway, and like the authors from the murder mystery book that I may be working on, and there's a couple other that would have been nice to do that holiday push. So, not out of the question. I think what we're going to try to do the next time my guys are up here is configure the room to do interview shows, and then depending on when they can come up, whether it's a Thursday morning or a Saturday, whatever it is, maybe try to stack a couple interviews in just to kind of get that work down and done. So. I'll keep you guys posted on that because honestly, like I said, once I can kind of get Small Business Saturday behind me, once I'm on the other side of that and um, figuring things out in Ireland, like get my head screwed back on straight, we can figure out what we can do down next in the studio. So there is that. Um, I'm gonna see Annalise on his cataract surgery next year. Hope that goes okay. Ms. Do, love your open door video. Sign up for a slot next. Oh, there you go. Good for you. Yeah, cheers to that. Yeah, that's great to see. Yeah, so I do a lot of work with the food pantry here. They do great stuff. Been with them for a long time. We have this sort of deal when they have something big to promote, they literally just like tap my shoulder and I go over there and usually do something live with them. Um, we did this. We recorded two of them this week because it was one like a 15-minute long video at first, and they have so much stuff going on. They need volunteers for next week because they distribute these holiday baskets. Uh, I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So all that prep's going on. But also if people who need baskets want to request one, we were sort of putting the shout out for that. And then Thanksgiving Day, actually, the local American Legion, they bring a bunch of volunteers to the food pantry and they themselves prepare a ton of holiday meals to be distributed that day um, to veterans and others. So that's another big endeavor. And in the meantime, while that's going on, this Saturday, the food pantry is hosting all these like breakfast food drives at all the local grocery stores around here. So we had to talk about that as well. They do that with the local police department, obviously all the grocery stores, and they want breakfast cereals because they have all the stuff for Thanksgiving. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. A lot of kids are home during breaks and all that and don't really get all the nutrition they need. So they do a big breakfast food drive. So there is that. And then once Thanksgiving is passed, they do the same thing all over again for Hanukkah and Christmas, right? Except substitute turkey with ham. So all that's going on. We do the same thing all over again. Plus, I was totally like, this is the land of nonprofits out here. There are 9 million things going on right now, and you just try to help out wherever you can. So I'm doing a lot of running around, um, I'll have more stories to share as we get into the middle of the month because I'll be doing a bunch of stuff around then as well. So anyway, I'll keep you guys posted on that. Um, oh, there you go. Yeah, market basket on Saturday. And Miss Do this. So there's actually in the newsletter and in the video you saw today, late in the video, there actually is a card there, like a graphic that lists all the supermarkets almost time. But I think it's 9 to 3 Saturday, and it's Market Basket, Shaw's, and Stop and Shop in Gloucester. And then I think Crosby's in Manchester, maybe Market Basket in Rowley or Ipswich. There's another maybe a Stop and Shop out there too. So anyway, they've got Greater Cape Ann covered. So there is that. So that is my deal right now. So tonight I button up the newsletter, which has 9 million things in it now. I don't even try to go after all the events happening. Like, for example, uh, a big fun thing around here every year, too, are like Thanksgiving football games with all the local high schools. Um, I don't even try like finding the schedule for that stuff. If people send things to me, that's fine. But there's just so much to do, and then I try to have video links for all the content that I'm posting as well. So I did a Black Friday deal today for a graphics company, and like I said, the open door stuff was going on as well. So we'll see. And then 4 more shoots tomorrow and a gig. So that'll be nice. So anyway, that is my deal. How is everyone out there doing tonight? And I also want to thank everyone who was in for the podcast last week because we were live. I can't see the comments or really edit the video or see the live chat till a full day later, and there's nothing I really have to check up on. But the good news is we actually were simulcast on YouTube and Facebook, so that's get a little smoother for everybody. It actually wasn't that hard at all. Um, my two main tech guys actually couldn't be here for the show, so I actually operated the camera for that, which I kind of explained in the top of the show. Um, but thanks for hanging out because it's not the easiest time of day to do it, right? But 11:30 in the morning on a Thursday to go live. So anyway, that's fun, but we're getting closer. And the other thing we're getting close to doing as well is me being able to do this, just this, on multiple platforms with just me in charge downstairs in the studio. In fact, I was actually studying up on that stuff just before I went on tonight. So I think these are all things that are going to be happening before Christmas, so which is really cool. And Lee just threw up the newsletter there. If you are interested in the local thing, you can just email me at that hello@bridgecapeann.com address, and I just easily just copy and paste your name into the email list. I don't do anything other than that, than send you those emails once a week. I don't do anything with your name or data, anything like that at all. I never have. I don't try to like accrue a massive amount of people getting emails from me. I get bothered when a lot of, especially like local places, hit me up like 2, 3, 4 times a week with email blasts. It's like less is more, I feel, in a lot of ways. So anyway, there's Dottie. Hello, good to see you. Yeah, great to see everybody tonight. It's a fun one. Yeah, it's been my head is intact. Um, it's just a crazy busy time, and it's so funny how it just comes in waves because the last couple of weeks have been okay. I can kind of get my bearings down, just some stuff in the studio. Started to research and script the next timeline. I've edited actually. So the library hit me up um, this yesterday, late yesterday afternoon, and they're like, "Hey, we had someone volunteering and digitizing and going through archives, and we found a bunch of photos that we think you could use in your timeline before the event tomorrow night." So I went in last night and actually edited the timeline again. I just did it like 3 weeks ago. But they had some images and I used like there were like 3 or 4 or 5 that I could have swapped they swapped out. Which was nice because I like having images of that place and of local faces and whatnot. So I was able to swap those out, which was great. Sent them the final copy sometime around lunchtime today. They're happy with it. The last I heard, there were like at least 70 or so people who RSVP, so that'll get up to 100 or so tomorrow night, which I think fills the room there too, which is good. And actually, the way they have this set up is it's a panel. The panels usually don't really end up being panel discussions like for Q&A. It mostly ends up being people just sort of sharing their memories of certain things. So this is the history of the big local library here, which has been around for pushing 200 years now. And yeah, I think it's year 195. I think it started in 1830. The Lyceum part of it did. So one of the co-authors of that murder mystery book actually did a lecture at the library a few months ago because he did a history on the Lyceum, which was the first part of the library where there were orators and things like that before they had a lot of books circulating there, the library part of it. He's on this panel with me. So is the library archivist and historian, the local history archivist. She's awesome. She's usually who I hit up first every time I work on one of these documentaries. And then they're going to have former librarians there who are going to, I think, share some remembrances. The current executive director is going to be there. And it should be a nice night. So that'll be a good one. It's not going to be televised, I don't believe, unless the library does it on their own, um, which is too bad, but whatever. We have these events often. So anyway, and the cool thing about it is I don't really have to prep for anything because we're going to have a library expert there, all the former librarians there, this author who can speak to the Lyceum's history, which is more than 150 years old, and no one's really going to ask me, you know, the inside baseball stuff about putting the documentary together. Plus, when the library reopened after this huge, like $25 million renovation on Labor Day weekend, they actually showed the piece then as well. And I have revised it a touch, which was nice. And we're going to do it all over again tomorrow. So anyway, that's what's happening. And then I think I'm going to do another one at the cable station here in mid-December about the Flying Santa piece because that's evergreen. And I don't know if we'll show two wintry pieces that night. That's why I was kind of hoping I could get this ice rink, skating rink piece in beforehand. But I also don't want to push my luck either. I mean, if I end up doing that piece in January, that's fine. I just like, try to get something seasonal in there so it's not always the Flying Santa every December. But we'll be doing another screening of that, which is it's always a fun time. I really like doing them. We sort of do them monthly until summertime hits because of Fiesta and all that. And then this year was weird because of our local election coverage. So now, yeah, you saw what was happening there, right? So I had that big library piece. Then it was prep for the election. That got out of the way. I could catch my breath and start to do some other things. And now we're in it again. And but this one just lasts like 10 days. And then luckily, if I wasn't going away to Ireland, I actually got hit up by a bunch of people because the first Thursday in December is Ladies' Night in downtown Gloucester, and it's the biggest retail night of the year. And I used to cover that live. And I got asked from some places if I was going to cover it live and go up and down Main Street and end up at this big party afterwards and whoop it up. But I can't do that this year because there's a lot of stuff going on around here right now. Like it's nuts. If you do see the newsletter, it's like literally like 40 panels of just event, 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 event. Honestly, there's actually too many events around here. I don't know how people find the time to organize them or attend them, but it's cool. Um, let's see. Dottie is asking, Corey, just wondering, were you interested in history when you were younger? Yeah, I suppose so. It's funny because when I speak at these events, people treat me like I'm an historian, and I tell them like, well, I'm not. Like I love the research and going down rabbit holes and all that, and I guess because my name is stamped all over these documentaries, I can see why people say that. But I also don't want to take away from people who literally um, have degrees or like pour over materials on time and chase history that way. I just like taking cool stories that most people think they know all about around here and then add more to it or just give context to things most people know about. Or you find those little diamond in the rough stories, the cutesy things, or a particular person or a place, and do that as well. So I don't know. I mean, I always liked it. To be honest, Dottie, I actually kind of got turned off from history by the time I was in high school because I couldn't I didn't know which sources to trust So we would have history classes, and I'd look at the, inside your history book. Well, I would look to see who published the book. And I would research things like, what else does this publisher publish? And do I believe everything that I'm reading? Because I heard quotes when I was really young, like, you only hear history is only told from like the winning side of wars and things like that. Or, um, you meet people from the South, and we call it the Civil War, and they call it the war against Northern aggression, and all these things. As you're younger, it's like you start to pick up, you start just to question things. So I kind of got turned off and didn't know what to trust. What I like about the hyperlocal history thing is um, there's not that much dirty history to it. You can just kind of find the fun things that are pretty solvable pretty easily. It's you get a full chronology of a lot of these things, or um, you just whatever piques my curiosity, I might chase after. I drove by this. We have this senior center in the middle of downtown Gloucester, and you drive by every day. It's called the Rose Baker Senior Center, and I only was in the same room with Rose, who was in her 80s or something when I was a kid, a couple times. And then after, it's like, well, wait, what can I find out about her? And I went to the senior center. They didn't have that much on her. I was like, well, let's do a story on her. And then I just went digging for a couple of months, and you find all these cool things about her. So that's always fun. The paper house one that I did, that paper house has been there for 100 years. And I never really cared much about it. And it's not like it's a giant attraction here for locals. But once you get in and start getting into the story and the backstory, it was pretty cool to figure out and put those pieces together. So I don't know. It's more like just putting those things together and knowing there's an A to Z in a story too. Uh, those are the ones I like best. The hard ones are, you do something on the history of the fishing industry here, right? Which is massive and all-encompassing and still unfolding. So there's no real end to it. When someone has a birth and a death, or there's a specific event that happens, or a singular place, you can kind of put a bow on a lot of that stuff. Um, and sometimes a story's just better told that way. So I hope that, I mean, that's one of my rambling ways of answering a question, but that is it. So yeah, always intrigued by history, then got suspicious of it. And then it was more of knowing that it could tell a story, documentary style. So, and with simple means too, like iMovie, the Ken Burns effect, having access to all these materials from public access places like libraries and museums, and partnering up with them and the local newspapers. And, they've all become friends now. And whenever I do a piece, the first people I reach out to is this woman that I'm sort of co-hosting with tomorrow night, the localist archivist. And the biggest museum here called Cape Ann Museum. They have a ton of archives. And I just go out to them like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this story. What do you have for coverage? So, and that's the toughest thing. I could tell 1,000 more stories, but it's just how hard is it to find the right kind of coverage, enough images to tell that story. It gets really tricky. Which brings me to 1.2. I don't know if any of you are watching Ken Burns' latest thing on PBS on the American Revolution. It's the 12-hour documentary. So I've been watching that and really enjoying it. And the cool thing about trying to do a story like that is the age before photography. And so what sort of images can you really work with other than paintings and sketchings and print stuff, um, and talking head historians sort of guiding you through this. So it's cool what they do to buy time. And of course, the pieces don't suffer at all because the storytelling's brilliant. I mean, that's why these things are as special as they are. So, but it's really cool. So if they're talking about, say, um, Monticello, or where, Washington's plantation or whatever it is, or patriots hiding in a farmhouse in the dead of winter, and they'll just show over 30 seconds just a tight shot of ice forming in a brook, or snow collecting on a windowsill, things like that. But it works and helps move the story along. It's really cool. So I just pick up on those things, and obviously all the other things like the voice acting is incredible. Peter Coyote is narrating again, and he was literally as good as it gets. That's why Burns taps him all the time. He's fantastic. Um, then you see all the people who sponsor this and put it together. You kind of think about that a little bit. Um, the Are they adding sound effects or not? Who's doing the score? They usually have the same people doing the score and writing these pieces and um, the whole production. And they do it on Premiere. It's Adobe Premiere. Editing software, which I have on my other computer and I've used it for other things in the past. But that's what like most productions are done on these days, which is really cool. But what I've always liked with my things are so simplistic that I just want to do pictures with that Ken Burns effect and kind of move around things and tell the story. But I do all the research and script writing myself. Um, I could help getting images from folks, but it's up to me to kind of put everything together. So when I do the voiceovers, it's usually me on this microphone in like usually one take. And I just go really slow and then go through the audio. It takes me like a day. I go in and then I parse it and take out any blips and beeps and put it together and try to get the timing down for my voice because it's just too hard to keep going back. When these voice actors are doing something like that, like they'll say their one line 10 different ways over and over and over again, and they'll send that batch in, like Ken Burns and whoever else is helping direct. They're listening to every take and they're like, that's the one. Or as they're listening to all 10, like they're marking off, these are the good ones, this is the one we want. Because when I listen to my VO stuff, I have a little bit of the local accent, which is tricky sometimes. I don't like enunciate perfectly the way, say, a Midwesterner would. They pronounce all their R's and um, dramatic pauses with commas and things like that. So I try to do that on the fly. I try to write my scripts that way, the way I'm gonna speak. And sometimes you don't, it means you're not necessarily writing the a perfect sentence, but one that I can read well instead. It's the same way with singers when they're singing songs and writing lyrics, is they tend to write what they can sing or what's easier for them to sing. So you're doing the same thing with a script as well. Just going over some quotes here too. Thought it's impressive you just didn't accept the facts at face value when you were younger. Yeah, I've always kind of been suspicious of education, which works for you and against you though. Like I wish I just kind of slept with one eye open through all those classes and and took more in than I actually did. Um, but yeah, Mount Vernon, of course, Washington's plantation. Nydia's been there before. I have not been there. I don't think I've been there before. No, I haven't yet. Ms. Do, have you ever done a video on the Cape Ann Symphony? I haven't. And what's crazy is I've actually interviewed, what was her name? Was it Fran White, who was, excuse me, the ED for the symphony for a while until recently, I believe, because she moved away. And Yuichi Utagawa, Yuichi. So I've interviewed him a couple times too. And I don't know if any of those are actually on this channel. I did that for the local cable station, and I think the last time with Utagawa might have been during COVID because they were doing events like outdoors. I think at Fran's home, palatial home, and the symphony events. So it'd be a good one. But the tricky thing too is like, does anyone have a history of it? Is there a chronology of it? What kind of images can I get? What access to the music can I get? And that stuff just takes time and work, but it would be a cool one to do. I'll tell you another thing else though, Ms. Do, that ends up happening is what's supposed to be these little like nugget stories that I find around, these little hidden gems of Cape Ann that you tell in stories. What ends up happening are a lot of nonprofits tap your shoulder and they kind of want a story on their nonprofit. Now, most of them have like people dedicated who can like they have archives. They can help me out a little more than me doing a story entirely on my own. And there's obviously a lot of material to work with, but that's kind of what's been happening. Like Hammond Castle wants me to do one after the holidays. We just did the Sawyer Free one. I did the Evelina Goulart piece on the boat over in the Essex Shipbuilding Museum. The Shipbuilding Museum asked about that one. Maritime Gloucester was a big help for like the Howard Blackburn story. So that's kind of what's been going on. Um, but we'll see what comes up next. I mean, the rink is a nice little piece. I like that. Um, Hammond Castle, if I can find a different angle than just the history of it, because they do a lot of their own stuff and it's really good. But there could be a different angle there that people haven't really looked into or know much about. That could be interesting. Um, I might actually do a piece with, so Heather Atwood is who I work with at 1623, and she's my co-anchor for a lot of stuff, including election night coverage. And she does her own series on art called The Color of Light. And we actually thought about if we had time together to work on one subject, but she would do a color of light piece on the art about that subject, and I would do a timeline piece on the history of that subject and release it together as like companion pieces. So that's a thought. We have an idea for that. So that may happen. That may be something cool to do and help pass the time this winter. Other than, of course, hopefully doing a bunch of things down in the studio. And the other thing I'd like to do too with a lot of this stuff is I could do follow-ups to these timeline pieces and have, say, some of the subjects or librarians or museum folk, whatever, like uh, together for chats or podcasts or something. But I'd have to do all that on my own time and through 1620 Studios, or I could try to do that on my time here at the studio, um, and reach a different audience and a little larger audience and be a little more promotional about it. You got to get, there's only so much you can do about promotion through the local cable station. So, um, but I think it would lead to a bunch of cool conversations, whenever one of these new timelines comes out or, we sit down and talk. Like I just did the Stuffy McInnes, the baseball story a few months ago. We had Stuffy memorabilia collectors and local officials who were going to get a field named after him. And there are a couple old timers still around who remember Stuffy when they were kids, even though he passed away 60 years ago. So that'd be cool to just kind of get in a room and in a controlled environment with good audio and a director and all that. Um, do an interview that's couple notches above public access, right? That's why we're doing the stuff downstairs. That's what I want to be doing. Um, because there's only so much you could do. Now it's a big bite what we're trying to do downstairs just because of the audio situation. You know, what's interesting too is a lot of times we do shows and I think the audio is lousy, but you all think it's passable or good. And I think it's because YouTube does have built-in modulators, and so does Facebook Live. When we do something downstairs and I have a recorded piece, I'm going to work with that and edit it before I post it. The audio is actually much worse when I put it through iMovie. And I wonder just because the modulators just aren't as advanced as they are on YouTube or Facebook when you're streaming. So, but it is always encouraging to hear that the audio is never as bad as I think it is. But it's still such a tricky thing to do when you want to have multiple people in a room. So that's just honestly that's the biggest mountain to climb down there. Everything else is good to go. And you've even seen the stuff with Animal Aid, like 4 out of 5 times everything works really well, but one person's mic might be off, or say if I'm really close to Jane and she's talking, her voice might go through my microphone too, which might be a little echoey. So that's the kind of stuff our tech guys notice, even if you don't notice. So it's good knowing that you don't notice things like that, but that's why I love having your feedback when we do shows. So anyway, yeah, Bizder, you're right. There's always more stories to come after. I actually got barked at when I went to vote a couple weeks ago because the person polling, working at the polling station, said that he emailed me last year about a timeline story, and I never got back to him. And I believe it, especially if he emailed me at my cable station email address. Oh, look at this. This is Chelsea Berry right now. Singer-songwriter. You should look her up sometime or look up the video here afterwards. Just saw this. So she's good. So we'll figure something out with Chelsea. Yeah, that'd be a really cool interview. So we did a cool one, but it was through Zoom. I did one or two of them with her. But one is like we literally go through every song on her album, and she had done her own little visual videos, uh, I think with lyrics to her song. So you can find that interview here as well. If not, it would be on our Facebook page, but it's got to be here on YouTube. So anyway, that's it. All right, 20 minutes of eight. Um, I guess I'll just go through. Well, I don't really have to go through things anymore here. You guys know what's going on. I appreciate your time once again. I got to thank Annalie and Nidhi for holding wrenches tonight. I did not hear from Christian today too. I didn't expect it because I kind of like am flying by the seat of my pants on Wednesdays and whether I can do these at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. and how long and whatnot. I'm not positive about next Wednesday show only because Wednesday nights are usually the big party night here. So if that's the case, maybe we can schedule something for Tuesday. I don't know what kind of update I can have for you then. Um, because I think my tech guy's got to get on the other side of Thanksgiving before we introduce some new stuff. But if you are interested and follow me a little more closely this time of year, it's always Facebook. That's where most of my crap is, to be honest with you. There is a newsletter too. I know it's mostly localized, and that'll change as we do start doing more stuff with the studio. But I don't know. My big thing in the next month is do this on a couple platforms live with me in control, and then start to figure out if we can button up a different kind of interview show down in the studio and do that. And then that's where we really need your feedback to help guide us into 2026. So, anyway, all right, that's the latest from my end. Thanks for all the chit chat tonight and the comments. I really appreciate it. I guess I'll post in here on the community tab when I'll be on next week because I don't want to blow off Wednesday unless I did it early. But let's just say Tuesday evening that I'll probably pop on for a bit and give an update. There might not be much to share unless there's an update on the adoptables and the timeline event and how the trip to the castle, the Hammond Castle trips are always fun. So we'll see what comes out of that, and and I'm sure we'll have more things scheduled too, for sure. So anyway. Thanks for your time. Have fun and be safe out there. I will chat with you all before Thanksgiving. So pencil that in. Let's say Tuesday night for now. I'll confirm that on the page later on. And that's it for now. So until next time, sleep tight and we'll see you soon. Adios for now.